Chapter 2340. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Strong winds rose from all directions, and sand and stones were also swept up in it, sweeping across the entire battlefield, but they didn't dare to approach the full-body Susanoo, as if it was a moving danger zone. And even if the wind didn't have a physical body, it would still be destroyed. In front of Susanoo, nothing was an exception. Even matter without life would not be able to escape the fate of destruction. Ba ba ba. The wind and sand were too violent. The Silver King and Nightblade God Go Lang's mouths were full of sand. What should we do? Nightblade God Go Lang came to the Silver King's side and looked at the complete Susanoo. His heart was about to jump out of his chest. His handsome face was pale and powerless. Was this something a human could deal with? Even if he was using cheats, he should know when to stop. Run. After a long silence, this was the only plan the Silver King could come up with. But we can't run forever, right? Nightblade God Go Lang said gloomily. Following the Silver King did not mean that he could live like an emperor, but he could not be a fugitive every day. Hearing this, the Silver King hesitated. Nightblade God Go Lang's words made sense. No matter what, they could not hide like rats. It would be better to just die. No matter what, this is a matter for the future. The task now is to take away the Drexten stone plate. The Silver King's meaning was clear. He wanted to take away the Drexten stone plate. You still have such unrealistic thoughts. Forgive me for being blunt, but the two of you, are your brains not damaged by the door? Dustless's cold voice came from the sky. He said sarcastically. In front of the complete Susanoo, you think you can escape? Indeed, the ignorant are fearless. Do you know how many people have been killed by this move? Do you know how many strong people above the king-level Susanoo, and even gods, have been killed? In the past, do you know how many people have been trampled by the complete Susanoo? Scoundrels, don't be too proud. It's dangerous. Dustless's words made the faces of the Silver King and Go Lang extremely gloomy. Whether it was bragging or the truth, the complete Susanoo was not something they could deal with. Take Drexten's stone plate and leave. I'll hold him off for now. The Silver King Adolphe K. Weitzman said loudly. His tone carried a trace of determination, giving off the feeling that he was going to perish together with his opponent. When Go Lang heard this, he was stunned for a moment before a warm current flowed through his heart. He was extremely touched. But what? No buts. I am the king. You must obey my orders. Don't forget that I am immortal. The Silver King scolded. There was a sense of freedom in his words, as if he had seen through life and death. He was immortal and indestructible, so what was there to be afraid of? Even if it was destroyed by Dustless, it could still be brought back to life. Yi Daoxing'o didn't say anything. He unsheathed his katana from his waist and used his actions to convey his message. He looked at the complete form Susanoo fearlessly. You won't regret it? The Silver King had mixed feelings, but his heart was also extremely touched. Of course. Yi Daoxing'o nodded seriously. There was an unprecedented calmness on his face. He unsheathed his katana and held it tightly with both hands. He looked at the approaching complete form Susanoo with a stern gaze. Even if I die, as long as I can stop this guy's footsteps. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Before Yi Daoxing'o's voice fell, a terrifying wave of energy came from the front. The ground was as fragile as a piece of paper, and was torn apart by an invincible gust of wind. Go away. The Silver King hurriedly reminded him. He anxiously urged Yi Daoxing'o, but he was still a step too late. The gust of wind from the complete form Susanoo instantly swallowed Yi Daoxing'o. Kacha. His entire body collapsed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Nothing was left behind except for a pool of dazzling blood on the ground. Seeing this scene, the Silver King suddenly collapsed. His eyes stared blankly. For a moment he was at a loss. His eyes were empty, as if his soul had been taken away. Adolphe K. Weitzman, you don't have to feel ashamed. Don't worry, you will soon face the same fate as him. Dustless said coldly. The sky above the Silver King's head turned completely golden. Looking up, it was the complete form Susanoo's big foot that landed on his head. As long as it landed, Izona society would be turned into meat paste. Farewell. After taking a few more glances at the Silver King, Dustless closed his eyes. Under the control of his mind, the complete form Consusanu's big foot landed. Bang! Izona Society's body suddenly burst and turned into a pool of crimson blood. After that, Dustless also removed the complete form Consusanu and landed safely on the ground. He stared at the broken battlefield around him and shook his head slightly. I'm afraid this country will be completely in turmoil in the future. Stay away from me in the future. Picking up the Drexton stone plate, Dustless left without any reluctance. Only his words of "stay away from me in the future" lingered in the void. The Silver King was temporarily dead, but it was only temporary. It wouldn't be long before he would be resurrected again. The Silver King's ability was immortality and gravity-free floating realm. Although Dustless's complete form Consusanu had crushed his body, according to Dustless's analysis, it wouldn't be long before he would heal and be resurrected again. Stay away from me in the future. This sentence was meant for the Silver King. As for whether he would take it seriously, only God knew. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2341. Many people must have noticed the huge traces of battle, especially the Green King's subordinates. Yu Xiao Shensi and Su Hisagojo had witnessed Consusanu's destruction with their own eyes. You are my benefactor. Su Hisagojo and Yu Xiao Shensi stood together and observed. Especially after seeing Consusanu's strength, Su Hisagojo's heart turned cold. When he provoked Dustless, it was fortunate that Yu Xiao Shensi stopped him. Otherwise, he would have been trampled to death. You don't have to be polite. After all, we are on the same side. Yu Xiao Shensi shook her head indifferently. Her own junior brother was trampled to death by Dustless. This was a little. This guy took the Drexton stone plate away. How are we going to snatch it? Su Hisagojo's pupils trembled. Fear could be seen clearly in his eyes. Why? Are you afraid? Yu Xiao Shensi teased. To be able to make this fearless brat afraid, it was enough to show how powerful Dustless was. I was blind in the past. Su Hisagojo shook his head and sighed. The arrogant look he had when facing Dustless was nowhere to be found. However, this is indeed a big problem. Yu Xiao Shensi narrowed her eyes and looked at Dustless's back. Even she felt powerless. The Green King probably had the same thoughts as Shui Shui. We can't let him take the Drexton stone plate away. I want to see the birth of a new world with my own eyes. Yu Xiao Shensi didn't know where the courage came from, but her eyes instantly turned cold. Although Dustless was strong, it didn't mean that they would give up. You can't be thinking of ambushing him, right? Hizunagogio's eyes trembled fiercely. Ever since he witnessed Dustless's powerful strength, he no longer had the heart to resist. The two of them were not in the same dimension. It was like the difference between an ant and an elephant. That's not it. Let's go back and inform the Green King. Withdrawing his unwilling gaze, Yu Xiao Shensi turned and left. With their strength, provoking Dustless was the same as jumping off a building. He wasn't that stupid. Did he leave? Dustless suddenly stopped in his tracks. Yu Xiao Shenzi and Wu Sujio's actions naturally couldn't escape his eyes. At least you know what's good for you. Dustless only snorted coldly. He didn't stay any longer, and continued to drag the Drexton stone plate away. As soon as he returned home, Dustless discovered that the villa that he had bought with his own money had been destroyed. Half of it had turned into ruins, and many of the furnishings had disappeared. It seemed that a thief had entered. He could even hear the kittens chirping. Anna, hurry up. The cat urged Anna to pack her things. Her pair of shifty eyes swept through the surrounding things, as if saying that she couldn't let go of anything valuable. What are you doing? The sudden voice startled Anna and the cat. They turned their heads and looked at Dustless in shock. Then, a joyful smile appeared on their faces. You're back? That's great. We thought you would never come back. The cat hugged Dustless excitedly and buried his head in her cleavage. Are you cursing me to die with your crow's beak? Dustless pushed the cat away and rolled his eyes. After looking around, the house was a mess. It was full of dust, and many places had turned into ruins. It was probably caused by the battle between Dustless, the Golden King, the Green King, and the Silver King. When the gods fought, the mortals suffered. Many places were affected. Even though Dustless had deliberately suppressed the power of the complete Consusinu, the city was still paralyzed in the end. You didn't see the giant that was hundreds of meters tall. Let me tell you, it was amazing. With a light step, the appearance of the city changed. The cat's expression was full of fear. The invincible figure of the complete Consusinu appeared in her eyes. Hearing that, Dustless smiled and nodded slightly. There's no need to move. Those kings are dead. You can rest easy from now on. Isn't it too dangerous to continue staying here? That giant just now was too invincible. What if the person controlling it had bad eyesight and trampled us to death? St. Anna said with lingering fear. Ha 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 ha. Why didn't I realize you were so humorous before? Don't worry about that. The person controlling the giant didn't have bad eyesight. Dustless couldn't help but laugh. For the first time he found St. Anna, a tsundere loli, to be cute. Right, you said that the King of Blue and the King of Gold are dead? St. Anna looked at Dustless in surprise. Seeing the Drexten stone plate outside, she suddenly understood something. Not just the two of them. The King of Silver has also been temporarily destroyed by me, Dustless said casually. But such a simple sentence caused a 10-magnitude earthquake in the hearts of St. Anna and the cat. The King of Gold, the King of Silver, and the King of Blue were all finished. Didn't that mean that this time Dustless had destroyed 3 kings alive? That was too much of a monster. The King of Silver is immortal, Dustless then added. Destroying him is only temporary. It won't be long before that guy comes back to life again. Unless the Drexten stone plate was destroyed, the King of Silver was immortal and indestructible. It had to be said that the King of Silver's combat power was not worth mentioning. But in terms of ability, he was definitely the most heaven-defying. Immortal and indestructible youth and eternal life. How many people dreamed of this? Even a powerful figure like the King of Gold could not escape the corrosion of time. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2342. There was only one way to completely destroy the Silver King, and that was to destroy the Drexten stone plate. All the power of the king came from it. Without a doubt, if this thing was destroyed, the king's power would disappear along with it, and so would the outsiders. However, the price of doing so was too high, and the loss outweighed the gain. Although the power of the Silver King would disappear, the power of outsiders, including the cat, would also disappear. Tuanming Anna, who would become the Red King in the future, would also be doomed. But then again, this thing is already in my hands. Those people should restrain themselves. Dustless muttered to himself. Apart from the Silver King, there was also the Green King, Baishuelu and the others. After witnessing his strength, even if they were still unwilling to give up on the Drexten stone plate, they would have to restrain their ambitions. In the secret base of the Green King, Baishuelu and the others. What should we do? The Drexten stone plate was stolen by Dustless. It's not realistic to expect him to give it to us. In the cold room there were only a few people. The Green King, Baishuelu Kojio, Yushao Shensi, and a sloppy old man with a face full of stubble. He was also a king, the Grey King Coiling Sky Rooster. No wonder the Green King, Baishuelu, had said that even if the Silver King, the Red King, and the Blue King joined forces he would not be afraid. He did have the right to be arrogant. His strength was not weaker than the Gold King, and he had the help of a king like the Grey King. Even allies like Yushao Shensi and Kojio were far stronger than Hadamiko, but they were still able to defeat Yubigu and the others. What's Dustless's attitude? Baishuelu, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke, revealing his handsome face. I mean, will he suppress the power of the Drexten stone plate? We're not sure. Yushao Shensi and Kojio shook their heads. Only God knew why Dustless had stolen the Drexten stone plate. The Green King's goal was very simple. He wanted to release the power of the Drexten stone plate and use it to promote the evolution of humanity. Once the power of the stone plate was no longer suppressed, there would be a large number of outsiders. This way, human society would greatly improve. Frankly speaking, the Green King's purpose wasn't any evil plan. In fact, it could be seen that he had good foresight. However, the Golden King and the Silver King didn't think so. Both of them believed that once the power of the Drexten stone plate was released, it would inevitably lead to the birth of a large number of outsiders. For example, there would be more and more people like the cat. As a result, human society would inevitably face big problems and enter an unprecedented period of chaos. In short, their thoughts were not wrong. Each of them had their own reasons, and there was no right or wrong. The only difference was their standpoint. Looks like I need to test that guy. Bai Shuelio's eyes glinted as he said in a deep voice, if that guy doesn't suppress the power of the Drexten stone plate, it's fine to leave it in his hands. After all, my goal is to release the power of the Drexten stone plate. It doesn't matter who has it. However, if he suppresses it like the Golden King, then, at this point, his meaning was self-evident. It was the start of a war. Are we going to fight that monster? Hisashi Gojio's little face suddenly froze. He recalled the world-destroying perfect form Kinsisanu. It was a power that could completely crush everything. In front of such a monster, kings and outsiders were just a joke. Are you afraid? The Green King glanced at Hisashi Gojio indifferently. Afraid? Hisashi Gojio's little face twitched. If it was in the past, he would definitely say decisively that he would take Dustless's life. However, after being beaten up once and witnessing the world-destroying perfect form Kinsisanu, he really didn't have the confidence. What about you? The Grey King, Coiling Boat Sky Rooster, looked at Yu Xiao Shensi with interest. The latter was also silent, and her eyes were flickering. Obviously, she was also extremely afraid of Dustless. Looks like our opponent this time is an extremely difficult person to deal with. To be able to make you lose your confidence, I really want to meet such a person. Coiling Boat Sky Rooster's words were filled with curiosity, but his heart was also extremely suppressed. He knew the temperament of these two people very well. To be able to make them lose their fighting spirit, it was enough to show how terrifying Dustless was. No matter how depressed the people on the Green King's side were, Dustless's side remained calm. After the villa was destroyed, Dustless didn't find anyone to repair it. After all, with the ability of the Gate of Babylon, he didn't have much, but he had a lot of money. He was rich and capricious. You are really extravagant. On the blue beach, Anna and the cat were wearing swimsuits, while Dustless was wearing shorts and lying on the beach leisurely, basking in the sun. The sea area within a few hundred meters was deserted. There were only 3 people, including Dustless. Dustless directly took out a large amount of gold to buy this beach. This is nothing. If money can buy this planet, let me tell you, I have enough wealth to buy 10 Earths. Dustless waved his hand, his nostrils pointing to the sky, with an appearance of a nouveau riche, extremely arrogant. Keep bragging. Anna pouted. She didn't believe this at all. Even if all the money in the world was given to Dustless, it was impossible for him to buy 10 Earths. It's up to you to believe it or not. Dustless was too lazy to argue with Anna. He wore his sunglasses and continued to bask in the sun. It was very comfortable. It was rare for him to relax, so when it was time to enjoy, he naturally had to be more extravagant. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2343. Blue Sky and White Clouds. Dustless enjoyed such a quiet life comfortably. His heart fell into an unprecedented calm state. His ears echoed only the laughter of the 2 women. It is really a rare relaxed time. As for the cat and Sinming Anna, they played with the water on the beach. Young people's thoughts are really different. Dustless lay peacefully. He didn't have as good energy as the cat and Sinming Anna. The vicissitudes of thousands of years, Dustless has seen through everything. Now he just wants to have a comfortable rest. Ah, you guy. Suddenly, Sinming Anna screamed, her voice filled with endless fear. What's the situation? Dustless was also shocked by the scream. He opened his eyes and saw that Sinming Anna and the cat were playing too much. Her swimsuit was accidentally pulled off by the cat. Haha, aren't we very fast in taking action? The cat didn't feel ashamed at all. Instead, he looked proudly at the red-faced Sinming Anna with his nose up in the air, showing off that he was fast. You. Hearing this, Sinming Anna's face trembled with anger. At the same time, she stole a glance at Dustless, but found that he was looking at this scene with a playful face. She was even more embarrassed. Her face was red and her neck was thick. She couldn't wait to find a hole to hide in. She quickly covered the exposed spring in front of her chest. You wait for me. Sinming Anna glared at the cat fiercely and immediately ran to Dustless angrily. What did you see? Sinming Anna looked at Dustless, who was comfortably basking in the sun, and said coldly, Don't pretend to be dead, you just saw it, right? What are you talking about? Dustless simply pretended to be stupid. If he admitted it at this time, it would be a tragedy. He shrugged innocently and said, Anna, you are young, very smart, very beautiful. Wu Chen raised his thumb to praise her. He thought that by saying so, this girl would let him go, but he soon realized that his idea was wrong. You scoundrel! Sinming Anna reprimanded loudly. Perhaps in her heart, she already thought that Dustless had seen something he shouldn't have seen, and even praised that place for being beautiful. He was simply too shameless. F***ck, sometimes, women are really idiots with muscles in their heads. Dustless almost spat out a mouthful of blood. How did he become a gangster? What's more, all I did was take a look at you, and it's an irresistible factor. What does that have to do with being a hooligan? Did I molest you? Then you'll be ugly. Dustless said like a hoodlum. He then turned around and pointed his butt at Sinming Anna. It was as if he was saying that he despised her. However, who would have thought that this would only make Anna even angrier? What did you say? Say it again if you have the guts. How dare you call me ugly? Although Anna's limbs were small, her strength was surprisingly great. She pulled Dustless over, her beautiful eyes filled with fire. King retard. No matter what, it's my fault. What else can I say? You're not happy to say that you're beautiful, but you're not happy to say that you're ugly. Dustless was furious and simply changed the topic. It was the cat who took off your swimsuit. Look at her smile. It's obvious that she did it on purpose. You should find trouble with her, right? That's true. Hearing this, Sinming Anna couldn't help but pause and then nodded subconsciously. She then looked at Dustless in annoyance and warned, I'll find trouble with you next time. Really, this is really an unexpected disaster. It's hard to even sleep. Looking at Sinming Anna who left, Dustless's head turned black. It had nothing to do with him from the beginning to the end. He was inexplicably hated by her. Outrageous, too deceitful. Go ahead and make a scene. Dustless was too lazy to meddle in other people's business. After being disturbed by Sinming Anna, he couldn't sleep. Kamui. Dustless's pupil power was activated, and the void in front of him suddenly distorted, swallowing Dustless's body. His whole person seemed to have evaporated into thin air. If he continued to stay here, he might be inexplicably dragged into this mess again. Inside the cold Kamui, Dustless landed on the ground. In front of him was a group of glowing stone plates with various patterns engraved on it. The stone was very old, as if it came from the distant ancient times. There was no doubt that this thing was the Drexton stone plate. No wonder the Golden King suppressed this thing. Dustless looked down at the Drexton stone plate. Using the Tensigan, he could easily see the internal structure of the Drexton stone plate. It stored a large amount of power, and if it erupted, it could affect the entire human race. After a little bit of the power of the Drexton stone plate is released, there will be more and more outsiders. Without a doubt, the current social order will also collapse. When a person has power, who will obey the law? After all, Dustless was a top monster who had lived for thousands of years. He understood the pros and cons of this. He himself was a living example. After having great power, why should he listen to others? Let's seal it temporarily. Bakudo's 99 restrictions. After a moment of silence, Dustless decisively set up a large number of enchantments, using his own powerful strength to suppress the Drexton stone plate. If the Golden King could do it, Dustless could do it easily. However, I underestimated this thing before. A mere stone plate hides the power to change the entire human race. In other words, it contains a large amount of energy. If this power is completely concentrated in a person's body, I'm afraid all the kings would be a joke. Dustless guessed. To a certain extent, this thing was a great tonic, but no one could swallow it. If they didn't do it well, they might explode. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2344. Forget it. If there's a big problem, it won't be worth it. Soon, Dustless gave up the greed in his heart and felt relieved. This kind of thing had a limited effect on his strength. After sealing Drexton's stone plate, Dustless withdrew from the interior of the Shenwei space. The cat and St. Anna that entered his sight made him dumbfounded. Dustless's mouth twitched. He saw St. Anna and the cat rolling on the beach. The two of them were tearing each other's clothes. The swimsuits were all torn to pieces. Now the two of them were naked. Didn't you leave? Why did you come out again? Dustless's sudden arrival shocked St. Anna. She quickly covered the important parts of her body, her face flushed red. Dustless Anna bullied me. The cat was much calmer. Perhaps it was because she was used to running naked. She looked at Dustless indifferently with tears in her eyes, telling him her grievances and St. Anna's atrocities. I say, can't you stop for a while? Moreover, your ability to lie is too good. Your face is not red and you're not out of breath. You're almost catching up to me. Dustless rolled his eyes. Just now he saw the cat riding on St. Anna's body and bullying her. Is that so? Hearing this, the extremely thick-skinned cat just blinked her cute big eyes. Her simple and honest expression was full of innocence. I must have been led astray, the cat suddenly said, making Dustless want to beat her up. What does it have to do with me? I was shot even when I was lying down. Put on your clothes. We're going out to do something. Dustless suddenly looked at St. Anna. Didn't you always want to see the situation of Hadamiwa, Kusanagi Izumo and the others? I happen to be free. I'll take you to see them. Really? St. Anna was very excited. She instantly stood up, and even her hands that were covering the important parts subconsciously loosened. You're so young, but you've developed quite well, Dustless said with a smile. It would have been better if he hadn't said anything. When this sentence fell into St. Anna's ears, her pretty face turned even redder, as if blood could drip out. You were the one who let go. It has nothing to do with me. Dustless hurriedly tried to distance himself from her. This unreasonable and barbaric girl could pester him endlessly at any time. I will never forgive you. St. Anna only snorted coldly. Since she had been seen naked, she didn't care anymore. She calmly ran back to her room to put on her new clothes. The distance wasn't very far. The villa was just by the sea. It was only a few dozen meters away. Fuwulua's base, Kusanagi Izumo's bar, used to be bustling with noise and excitement. However, it was no longer as lively as it used to be after the deaths of Totorio and Zhou Fengzuan. The once powerful Barkwulo was now facing an embarrassing situation of disbandment. There were only a few people left, only Kusanagi Izumo, Hadamiko, and a few of Zhou Fengzuan's loyal followers. Almost everyone else had left. Sigh. In Kusanagi Izumo's bar, there was a sudden sigh of vicissitudes. Kusanagi Izumo was lying on the bar counter in a daze, looking at the scenery outside the window. His eyes were full of confusion, and he had lost his direction towards the future. What's there to sigh about? At least we're much better than our sworn enemies, those guys in blue. Hadamiko, who was lying on the sofa, said loudly with a mocking tone. It was more like she was trying to find joy in the midst of sorrow. However, this was also true. Since the arrest of the King of Blue, Zanta Rishi and the organization he led had become the target of everyone's hatred. Fujiwara Rubigu, Zanta Rishi, and even Tashimashiri had fallen one after another. Their fates were even more miserable. Is this how you do business? I've been here for half a day, but no one entertains me. No wonder this bar is about to close down. Serves you right. This voice gloated, which immediately angered the bad-tempered Hadamiko. Which bastard is here? So it's you. Please come in. Hadamiko was furious. When she picked up the baseball bat and was about to hit the person, she suddenly saw Dustless's face changing as fast as flipping a book. She immediately put on a respectful look and smiled brightly like a chrysanthemum. This guy is really hopeless. Kusanagi Izumo looked at Hadamiko with disdain. The only person who could make him so afraid was Dustless. Please come in. Anna, you're here too. The moment they saw Anna, Hadamiko and Kusanagi Izumo were overjoyed. This little girl used to be the little princess of Barawulo, and everyone liked her very much. However, when Dustless promised to protect Anna, the two of them did not remain silent. After all, it was too difficult for them to protect Anna with their strength. At that time, the King of Blue even wanted to kill her, so Hadamiko and Kusanagi Izumo were unable to protect her at all. As everyone left, looking at the empty bar, Sinming Anna's eyes were a little moist. Her heart ached. Such a huge organization had disappeared just like that. I came here this time because I hope that you will leave too. The Barawulo organization. Let it disappear. Dustless suddenly said. No, a new king of red will be born. Hadamiko shook her head stubbornly. Maybe you won't be able to survive until that day. Haven't you noticed? You have been targeted by other clans. Dustless said flatly. Through the perception of observation hockey, a large number of people were lurking around, and 80% of them were King of Green's people. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 evaluation votes plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2345. Disband. Everyone in Barkwillow was stunned. Their eyes focused on Dustless. What did this mean? Did the survival of Barkwillow have anything to do with Dustless? That was too much of a busybody. Is this a threat? Kusanagi Izumo looked at Dustless with an unfriendly expression and subconsciously clenched his fist. Threat? Why do you think I'm threatening you? What a boring joke. Dustless couldn't help but sneer. I've killed the Golden King and the Black King. Do you have any value in being threatened by me? What I mean is that this clan has been targeted. You guys can't handle it at all. You're being targeted? Upon hearing this, Sinming Anna looked at Dustless anxiously. Her beautiful pearl-like eyes glowed. The Golden King and the Black King have been disintegrated. Someone who has the ability to target Fuwulu. That's right. It's the Green King's clan. Dustless nodded in agreement. At the same time he explained. The Green King's strength is second only to the Golden King. He has a few subordinates who are all first-class experts. How can you guys resist? Just by relying on the few of you who have been defeated? You're digging your own grave. Chana, Kusanagi Izumo, and Hadamiko looked at each other blankly. Dustless's words put a lot of pressure on them. Even breathing felt more difficult than before. Even if Barkwillow was in perfect condition, and even if Zhou Fengzuan was alive, they probably wouldn't have a chance of winning against the Green King and Bai Shui. After all, the Green King was extremely powerful and couldn't be regarded with common sense. Although he wasn't as strong as the Golden King, he wasn't much weaker. With just the few of you, how can you protect Barkwillow? And to put it bluntly, even if a new Red King was born, with just the few of you, how can you protect this big family? Dream on. Dustless shook his head. He couldn't bear to discourage these people. Besides, apart from the Green King and Bai Shui, there was also the Gray King. Although their strength was average, a king was still a king. He wasn't someone that any Tom, Dick, or Harry could compete with. Other than disbanding, there's no other way? Sinming Anna clenched her fists unwillingly. All this time, she still had a dream in her heart. To revive Willow, so that the color of Zhou Fengzuan would be passed down forever. That will depend on your choice. Dustless sat on the sofa and crossed his legs lazily. He said indifferently. If you think you can fight against the Green King, you can wait here in peace. But I think it won't be long before you all are killed. So, it's better to leave as soon as possible and go our separate ways. But then again, why is that guy targeting us? Hadamiko asked curiously. We don't seem to have any grudges with the Green King. It is indeed a little strange. Kusanagi Izumo was also puzzled. He frowned and said, I don't think you had any grudges with that guy before. Grudges? Dustless shook his head and explained. You are still too naive. Killing and being killed don't necessarily need a reason. It's meaningless. Just like Dustless's previous experience, Aizen Sosuke needed a large number of souls to create Wang Jian. He wanted to destroy the entire Kongzucho. Did those people have grudges with Aizen? No, Aizen just needed them. Perhaps the Green King wanted to destroy this group of shrimp soldiers and crab generals to intimidate the weak. It was the tragedy of an ant. Of course, there is another option. Wu Chen's sudden words awakened everyone's hope. He said plainly, you can leave this city temporarily. It won't be too late to come back after the car accident is over. That's the only way. Kusanagi Izumo and Hadamiko looked at each other. Although they were unhappy, there was nothing they could do. Willow was already destroyed. But you said we were surrounded. How can we leave? Do you think I'm heir? Before Kusanagi Izumo could finish his nonsense, Dustless interrupted him and said quietly, I am an exception. Whoever dares to block my way, I will destroy them. Golden King and Blue King are examples. This guy is really arrogant. Everyone couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. This was the benefit of being strong. The strong were the lords. Let's go. Dustless didn't say much and started to leave. Hadamiko and Kusanagi Izumo looked at each other and decisively followed. No one would dare to cause trouble if they followed Dustless. Damn it, what is this guy trying to do? Yushao Shensi and Yujio Hizuna, who were observing in the dark, narrowed their eyes the moment they saw Dustless. The two of them followed Green King by Shuelyo's order to destroy the last remnants of Willow, but who would have thought that Dustless would suddenly appear? Due to his unfathomable strength, the two of them fell silent. It wouldn't be too late to kill the remnants of Willow after Dustless left. But now that this group of people had come out with Dustless, his intention was obvious. These two people, I will protect them. Dustless, this guy is determined to go against us. Yushao Shensi's expression was extremely ugly. Looking at Dustless, who left openly, he really didn't have the courage to resist. Let's call that person and ask. After a moment of silence, Yushao Shensi finally said helplessly, this kind of thing could only be decided by Shuelu. The two of them didn't have the right to decide. I understand. Yujio Hizuna nodded and immediately dialed the Green King's number, reporting the situation one by one. After a while, he was stunned when he received the Green King's order. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2346. What's going on? Don't waste my time. Tell me. Yushao Shensi scolded in dissatisfaction. Since when did this fellow become so melancholy? The king's order is for us to launch an attack immediately and get rid of Dustless. Suhazana Gojo said fearfully. This was a sign that they were going to shed all pretenses of cordiality. If they met in the future, it would be a fight to the death. Attack. Yushao Shensi remained silent. However, she did not lose her composure like Sukuru. She looked at the backs of Dustless and the others calmly. Why is there an order to attack? Didn't he want to test him before? Why are we going to fight now? Sukuru mumbled to himself. He did not know what the Green King was thinking. We have already tested him. Yushao Shensi seemed to understand what the Green King was thinking. Did you forget our plan? We used the power of the Drexten stone plate to create a new world and release the power to push humans to evolve. It has been a long time, but not a single outsider was born. Instead, the number of outsiders is decreasing. What does this mean? Dustless is suppressing the power of the Drexten stone plate. Sukuru had followed Yushao Shensi for a long time. He was quite smart. After Yushao Shensi's reminder, he immediately understood why the Green King wanted to fight with Dustless. That's right. That guy suppressed the power of the Drexten stone plate, even more than the Golden King. In the past, outsiders were born occasionally, but now they have all disappeared. If he continues to do this, how can humans evolve? That's why King decided to fight with him. However, this guy is really a monster. What method did he use to suppress the power of the Drexten stone plate? Even the Golden King could not do it. Yu Shaoshensi said. The difference between Dustless and King was too big. But how are we going to fight him? Aren't we courting death? Even 100 lives are not enough, Yu Shaoshensi said with a headache. You worry too much. Sukuru shook his head and explained. He didn't ask us to do it. He only asked the low-level members to do it. Dustless and the others walked out of the alley leisurely. They could feel that there were many spying eyes all around them. They were all hidden very well. However, as long as they focused their senses, they could still discover them. It's just as this guy said. We've all been targeted by the other clans. Kusanagi Izumo and Hatamiko looked at each other and rejoiced. If Dustless hadn't appeared, they would have died here today. In fact, it was worth mentioning that Dustless didn't have the extra effort to save the two of them. It was entirely because Tsinming Anna was pestering him every day. It just so happened that he was bored, so Dustless thought of coming here to sit. Go. As long as we kill this group of people, we will be high-ranking officers in the future. Points, it's all points. After a few minutes of silence, the hidden members of the Green Clan started to panic. At this moment, the Green King, by Shuelu, issued an order to attack through the network. It was worth mentioning that Dustless and the others had a bounty on them. As long as they killed Dustless and the others, they could become high-ranking officers of the clan and meet the Green King himself. As the saying goes, birds die in pursuit of food and men die in pursuit of wealth. After Bai Shuelu stirred things up, the members of the Green Clan couldn't stay calm anymore. They all started to howl like crazy. This is bad. We are surrounded. We can't leave. Tsinming Anna's delicate face turned pale. She looked up and saw a large number of Green Clan members coming from all directions. The main character didn't come out, but the clowns came one after another. Are they cannon fodder? Dustless muttered to himself. He glanced at the clowns and didn't see any officers of the Green Clan. They were probably tricked into coming here to be beaten up. It seems that Bai Shuelu wants to fight with me. Dustless lowered his head and muttered to himself. At the same time, a large number of Green Clan members suddenly attacked and surrounded Dustless and the others. The black mass was boundless, and the exaggerated number was like a pile of ants. Keep going. Seeing that they stopped, Dustless said indifferently, no matter how many insects and rats there are, the dragon soaring in the sky won't turn back for them. Stopping is even more ridiculous. Tsinming Anna and the others looked at each other in dismay. Then they decisively followed Dustless's back. Beat him to death. Seeing Dustless's arrogance, a group of members who were thirsty for points couldn't help but rush over. Boom, boom, boom. It was also at this moment that a majestic and vast aura erupted from Dustless's body and rushed into the depths of the sky. It swept across the vast horizon and soared into the clouds. Bang, bang, bang. The members of the Green Clan who were affected by this aura all fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth. The ground was filled with a black mass of people. Without exception, all of them were lying down. The members of the Green Clan were annihilated in an instant. You, what did you do? What trick is this? You didn't do anything. Tsinming Anna and the others opened their small mouths in surprise, and their jaws were about to dislocate. In their eyes, Dustless didn't do anything. Why did this group of people fall down inexplicably? If it weren't for the white foam at the mouth and the twitching of their bodies, they would really think that they were the extras invited by Dustless. Looking up, there was a huge dark abyss in the sky that was about to shatter the sky. This is Haushika Hockey. Dustless said one more sentence, and then left without turning his head. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus more, 3,000 rewards plus more, 1,000 evaluation votes plus more, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more. Chapter 2347. Haushika Hockey. Everyone was confused. They had never seen such an incredible ability before. They looked at Dustless curiously. You won't understand even if I explain it to you. It's like playing the lute to a cow. Dustless didn't want to talk nonsense. The key was that they wouldn't understand even if he explained it. Anyway, let's get out of here first. Hey, what did that guy do? Are you kidding me? I didn't even have time to react before I was killed in an instant. What a shame. Shortly after Dustless and others left, Yu Shensi and Su Kujio, who were hiding in the ruins, finally crawled out. They heard Su Kujio complaining nonstop. The range of the Haushika Haki just now was beyond imagination. It was vast and boundless, and the attack didn't differentiate the target. Yu Shensi and Su Kujio were unfortunately hit, and were killed in the blink of an eye. They didn't even have the chance to react. After fainting for a few hours, the two of them slowly woke up. It's too scary, too evil. We can't defeat such an enemy even if we try our best. Su Kujio stared at the fainted people below. His scalp couldn't help but tingle. Just now Dustless didn't do anything, but he killed all the members of the Green Clan in an instant. This overwhelming strength is unparalleled. Anyway, let's go back and report the situation here. Yu Shensi muttered. She was gradually afraid of Dustless. One had to understand that Wu Chun had merely blinked his eyes earlier. He hadn't done anything else. Green King, by Shuelyo's base. After losing contact with Su Kujio and Yu Shensi for a few hours, Bai Shuelu was very anxious. He even wanted to go find the two of them personally. King. Just when the fire was burning his eyebrows, the two people's voices suddenly appeared. Green King's heart relaxed, and the irritation and uneasiness on his face disappeared. What's the situation? Why couldn't I contact you a few hours ago? Green King said in a serious tone. And how is Dustless? Do you have any good news for me? The two of them were rather embarrassed as they said in shame. We were knocked unconscious by Dustless earlier, so we didn't manage to contact you in time. He fainted. The Green King, Bai Shuelu, was stunned. Don't hide anything from me. Tell me everything. The two of them looked at each other and told each other everything that had happened in the Kusanagi Izumo bar. In the end, even the Green King was dumbfounded. How did you do it? Bai Shuelyo's eyes widened as he stared at Yu Shensi's phone. It was a recording of the moment Dustless killed the Green Clan. With just a blink of an eye, everyone fainted. Facing such an incredible scene, Bai Shuelu even felt that this group of clan members were extras invited by Dustless. And the purpose was to King trick him. Bang. The Green King angrily smashed Yu Shensi's phone into pieces. Yu Shensi twitched as she watched. Even though she was extremely unhappy, she didn't dare to make a sound. The Green King was in a rage right now. Who would dare to provoke him? Are we still going to fight him? Hisashi Gojio looked at the Green King anxiously. The moment he finished his sentence, Bai Shuelyo's eyes turned as sharp as a knife. Are you afraid? Bai Shuelu asked coldly. Hisashi Gojio's body trembled. Afraid? Why would I? I won't be that kind of person. If we fight him, I'll be the first to destroy him. Hisashi Gojio said vehemently. If he backed down now, he would have nowhere to cry if he was killed by the Green King. Don't be delusional. Things have already developed to this point. Even if we don't fight him, do you think Dustless will let us go? The Green King warned Bai Shuelu coldly. This was like splashing water. Although it didn't hit Dustless, it was enough to disgust him. The possibility of starting over was zero. But we're not his match. Yu Shensi said with a bitter look on his face. Suddenly, he recalled the scene of his junior brother Gelong being crushed by Susanoo. And his body suddenly trembled. This was just Dustless's strength. He was already invincible. Perhaps he still had a lot of trump cards that he hadn't revealed yet. Don't worry. Soon, I will personally take action. No one will be able to stop my dream. The Green King suddenly opened his mouth. His voice was filled with confidence. There was no exception. Anyone who tried to stop him would die. That was all. That's for the best. Only the king can deal with that kind of unfathomable guy. Hisashi Gojio and Yu Shensi looked at each other. If even the Green King couldn't deal with Bai Shuelu, they should learn from Yu Shensi and leave the city. When will we take action? Yu Shensi's eyes shone with a resplendent light. He couldn't wait to wash away his shame. Being killed by Wu Chen was simply too humiliating. This time we must make that guy suffer. Beat him until he cries. Hisashi Gojio roared excitedly. On the contrary, the Grey King, Coiling Boat Sky Pheasant, was much colder. He only glanced at Bai Shuelu and didn't say anything. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2348. The blue sky was cool and slightly bleak. The streets were deserted. Because of the battle between kings, the scope of the battle was too large. The order of the city had already collapsed. Those who could run had already run away. Even those who couldn't run stayed at home and refused to come out. However, there were some unavoidable exceptions to everything. Many unknown people wearing helmets started a large-scale operation and moved forward in an orderly manner. Don't waste time. Hurry up. A large number of members of the Green Clan kept approaching Dustless's villa. They were all holding all kinds of weapons such as dangerous guns, knives and so on. We must kill that guy this time. Woju Hisashi waved his small hands excitedly. Due to his excessive joy, his expression was even a little morbid. The leader of this group was naturally the leader of the Green Clan, the Green King Bai Shui. However, due to his physical condition, he was pushed over in a wheelchair. The Green King was originally a dying man. However, at the moment of his death he obtained the power of a king. That was how he managed to survive until today. Don't be careless. That guy isn't weak. Bai Shui wasn't as calm as he said cautiously. Perhaps Dustless is right. His power doesn't come from the Drexton stone plate. It's a power that we haven't come into contact with before. However, it does exist. Impossible. If that's the case, isn't that guy too shocking? The Coiling Boat Sky Rooster frowned and touched his chin. He had some doubts in his heart. If that was the case, Dustless was really a heretic among heretics. Ah. Since you understand this situation, you should know that the unknown is often the most dangerous. However, why do you still want to fight me now? You're just seeking your own death. A ripple that could be seen with the naked eye suddenly swept across the endless sky. It spread out like a wave. This voice also entered everyone's ears. It's just for my dream. Bai Shuelyo's expression changed slightly as he stared at the dancing lights in the sky. They were like countless golden fireflies circling around. He said solemnly, "Be careful, this guy is coming." Buzz, buzz, buzz. The large number of flashes of light accelerated and condensed. Finally, Dustless's body appeared one by one from head to toe. His cold eyes were like a god looking down on mortals, without the slightest hint of emotion. How arrogant. Looking up at Dustless in the sky, many people's faces changed. That provocative gaze was like a god looking down on an ant. There was no extra emotion in it, only naked and direct disdain. So strong. No wonder Z and Sujio were defeated by him. Bai Shuelyo's face was tense. Even though Dustless was quietly looking at him, and there was no aura directed at him, he still felt as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him. Beads of sweat even appeared on his forehead. You brat, don't be too arrogant. Our king is here, and you still dare to look down on us. Su Kujio, who was standing next to Bishui Shuelu, was furious. He looked up at the sky. Everyone pay attention. Shoot down that annoying bug in the sky. That guy's head is worth 100,000 points. Kill him. Ha ha ha, this kid is mine. 100,000 points? Doesn't that mean that if we kill him, we can instantly become an officer of the clan? It's not as simple as becoming an officer. 10 points is far more than what is needed to become an officer. Hearing this, the members of the Green Clan were extremely excited. Their eyes were greedily looking at Dustless in the sky. Everyone felt their blood boiling. Their lives had never been so exciting before. Bang bang bang. Countless bullets blasted into the sky, and the sound of the explosion rang in Dustless's ears. His body was blown apart in a short time, but it was quickly repaired by the elemental conversion of the glint fruit. This is not a place for you to be impudent. Dustless glanced at Su Kujio, who was laughing. With a flick of his finger, a huge beam of light pierced through the sky and fell from the sky. Laser. The bright beam of light was like a meteor, leaving a straight trail in the sky. Under the gaze of countless people, it rushed towards Tsukujio. Not good, quickly dodge. Seeing this, the Green King's heart trembled. He hurriedly shouted at Tsukujio, but it was too late. In front of the light, everything was too weak. Pucci. Under the gaze of countless people, the beam of light pierced through Tsukujio's head, leaving a fist-sized hole in between his eyebrows. Those with good eyesight could even see the brain matter in Tsukujio's head. Gulp. Damn it, are you kidding me? Our officer was killed in an instant? Is this guy even human? He's a super monster. Many people were scared out of their wits. Even their officers couldn't withstand a single blow, let alone them. They were probably cannon fodder. Run. It was also unknown who screamed out in fear, and directly threw down the weapon in his hand and fled for his life. Dustless was really too powerful. This kind of shocking power was simply not what they could contend against and deal with. Some people were afraid and ran away. After a start, some people whose confidence had been crushed followed suit. They frantically ran for their lives like locusts. The previously aggressive army instantly collapsed. A bunch of useless good-for-nothings. When the coiling boat Sky Rooster saw this, he cursed out loud. He didn't even care about Kojio Haruna's death. A special flintlock suddenly appeared in his hand, and he fired a few shots toward Wuchen in the sky. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2349. Bang, 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 bang. The dense bullets pierced through Wu Chen's body, but it didn't have any effect at all. It was as if he was transparent and didn't hurt him at all. All the bullets pierced through Wu Chen and floated to the distant sky. Damn it, monster. Seeing this, many people cursed out loud. This unbelievable ability could make him immune to physical attacks, and it seemed that any attacks aimed at him were ineffective. How could they defeat such an enemy? Let's run. Our clan has offended such a powerful person. We're done for. Many members of the Green Clan who were hiding whispered to themselves. They all looked at the Green King, by Shuelu. This high and mighty king was also sweating profusely. He looked at Dustless as if he was facing a great enemy. Come at me all at once. Don't waste my time. In front of Bai Shuelu and others, the light condensed, and Wu Chen's handsome face appeared first, followed by his abdomen and legs. Sir, Bai Shuelio's mouth twitched. He pretended to be calm and asked in a low voice, I'll ask you one last time. Are you willing to release the power of the Drexten stone plate? If you release it, we can forget about the past and be friends. It's not good for you. Be friends? Are you worthy? Get out. Before he could continue, Dustless looked at Bai Shuelu mockingly. His words made Bai Shuelu change his mind. I've always been amenable to persuasion but not coercion. Perhaps when I'm bored in the future and feel that life is boring, I might really release the power of the Drexten stone plate to change the human race. Perhaps my boring days might become a little more interesting. But you people actually dared to threaten me. I've changed my mind now. Even if I'm addicted to that broken stone plate, I won't release its power. You're provoking me. Bai Shuelio's face turned green. This guy was too arrogant. He didn't take him seriously at all. This is not a provocation. Dustless suddenly raised his right foot. A bright light shone, and then he stomped it down. This is pure oppression. Boom, boom, boom. The solid ground was crushed by Dustless's stomp like glass. Countless cracks appeared and spread in all directions, trying to swallow Bai Shuelu and the others. Retreat. Yu Xiao, Shunzi, and the others quickly retreated, looking at Dustless in panic. What kind of monster was this guy? One kick was enough to cause an earthquake. Idiot, you still want to run? Dustless revealed a contemptuous smile. Large amounts of light drifted out of his body and disappeared as if he was shuttling through space. Looks like I can only use my full strength to deal with this. On the other side, Bai Shuelu sucked in a deep breath of cold air. He suddenly stood up from his wheelchair and ordered loudly, Violet, leave this place to me. Hurry up and find the Drexten stone plate. Once we get it, we'll... Poochie. Before Baishuelu could finish his sentence, he felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. His blood was gushing out, and a terrifying heat was roasting his body. Why did I die just like that? Baishuelu lowered his head to look at his abdomen. A blazing laser sword had pierced through his abdomen, quickly evaporating his life force. Baishuelu could clearly feel an unprecedented sense of exhaustion spreading throughout his body, and his eyes could not help but close. Because you are too weak, Dustless coldly replied. I can't accept this. At this moment, Baishuelio's face was ferocious. He had never felt that death was so terrifying. His eyes that were about to close suddenly opened. His eyes were bloodshot. Boom boom boom. Endless emerald light rose from Baishuelio's body. It was like a scorching flame, and anything that came close to Baishuelu would be burned to ashes. Even the Kusanagi sword that was stabbed into his abdomen trembled slightly, and began to peel off layer by layer. Still want to struggle? Dustless shook his head, and immediately focused his gaze on Baishuelu. His calm eyes blinked slightly. Amaterasu. Boom boom boom. The dark evil fire suddenly descended without any warning, and instantly swallowed Baishuelio's body. The emerald light was also rapidly evaporated by Amaterasu. Being tortured inhumanely by Amaterasu, Baishuelu suddenly let out a painful groan. Those who heard it had a look of fear on their faces. It was as if they could empathize with him, and their bodies could not help but tremble. Shuelu. Both Coiling Boat Sky Rooster and Yushao Shensi roared. Their king was burned alive like this, and he didn't even have the ability to fight back. The blow to the women was really too big. Kneel down and beg for mercy. I can let you go once. Dustless was expressionless. Although the conditions were extremely harsh, it was rare for him to be magnanimous. Kowtowing and begging for mercy can be exchanged for a life, which is not a loss. In your dreams, Coiling Boat Sky Rooster roared madly, and immediately launched the power of the king. A hazy fog suddenly descended, and the visibility was greatly reduced. In this fog, it was impossible to distinguish the basic direction, and they didn't know from which direction the enemy would attack from. In the original work, when the King of Blue fought with the Coiling Boat Sky Rooster, he was seriously injured because of this fog, and he was in danger. Whiz whiz whiz. The special energy drifted away. It was very weak and almost undetectable, but it really existed. It was extremely mysterious. Only Dustless could feel the changes within. The originally boundless world became incomparably clear in an instant. Observation hockey is really a good thing. Dustless's mouth curled into a smile, and his eyes suddenly turned. Even though the scenery in his eyes was only gray, through the perception of observation hockey, he clearly noticed that Coiling Boat Sky Rooster was standing there, intending to sneak attack. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus more, 3,000 rewards plus more, 1,000 evaluation votes plus more, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more. Chapter 2350. He shouldn't have noticed me. The Coiling Boat Sky Rooster was hidden in the gray mist. His eyes were like the eyes of an eagle, revealing a cold light. He gritted his teeth and said, Lu, don't worry. Your sacrifice will not be in vain. I will avenge you. Although the Coiling Boat Sky Rooster was the King of Gray, he had defected to the King of Green. The two of them were very close. They had been friends for several years. In the Green clan, the King of Gray was like a father figure to the Coiling Boat Sky Rooster. Now his child was being tortured to death? How could he bear it? Bang, bang, bang. In anger, the King of Gray aimed at Dustless's head and pulled the trigger. Swoosh, swoosh. The huge bullet pierced through the fog and went straight for Dustless's head. Even though he couldn't see clearly, the Coiling Boat Sky Rooster knew that there were two big holes in Dustless's head. He quickly ran over with joy. Ha ha ha, you bastard, you're dead. You. The moment the laughing Coiling Boat Sky Rooster saw Dustless, his cheeks froze and his smile stopped abruptly. He saw Dustless fall to the ground and his breath completely disappeared. Dead, dead, finally dead. The Coiling Boat Sky Rooster's eyes shot out scarlet light. He was very excited. He thought that Dustless could still be repaired. Who knew that he was dead? Is he really dead? The coiling boat sky rooster approached Dustless carefully. After noticing the 2 holes in his head, and the fact that he had completely stopped breathing, the coiling boat sky rooster burst into tears. Lou, close your eyes in peace. I have already killed this bastard and avenged you. The coiling boat sky rooster was extremely excited. Even his rough old face was flushed red. Laser. At this moment, a ray of bright golden light pierced through the thick fog and shot straight at the coiling boat sky rooster's heart. Who is it? The coiling boat sky rooster wasn't an ordinary person. After all, he was a powerful king. He immediately turned his head to dodge, but it was too late. Ooft. The coasting boat sky pheasant's heart was burned by the light beam, leaving behind a charred hole. One could clearly see the scene on the other side. What's going on? Isn't that guy dead? When the coiling boat sky rooster saw Dustless walking out of the fog, his 2 huge old eyes froze. What's going on? Why aren't you dead? What the hell? The person who had ambushed him from behind was none other than Dustless, who had his hands in his pockets and walked over casually. Die. Dustless grinned and mocked. In terms of strength, I am thousands of times stronger than you. Do you think I will be killed by you? What the hell is that? Ignoring the piercing pain in his chest, the coiling boat sky rooster pointed at the corpse beside his feet and looked at the smiling Dustless. He was so angry that blood was spurting out. He felt like a clown being played by Dustless without restraint. His lungs were about to explode from anger. TSK. Don't be so agitated. I was just being kind. Seeing that you are already so old, and it's not easy for you to live, I let my shadow clone be killed by you. This way, you can die without any regrets. Do you have any regrets now? Dustless said very kindly. He then muttered to himself. I take care of the elderly so well. You should really give me an award for being the best citizen. It would have been better if he hadn't said it. After hearing Dustless's words, the coiling boat sky rooster vomited blood again. You are the best citizen? Then the murderers locked up in prison are all gentle angels. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Glaring at Dustless with resentment, the coiling boat sky rooster fell to the ground with a bang. His breath had completely disappeared, but his eyes were still open. At the same time, the gray fog that occupied the blue sky also disappeared. Warm sunlight shone down from the vast sky once again. You are the only one left. Dustless looked at Yu Shensi without any ripples in his eyes and asked flatly. Yu Shensi, do you want to commit suicide or do you want me to do it? Yu Shensi looked at Dustless coldly. Her eyes were as cold as ice. Looks like I need to do it. Dustless looked at Yu Shensi calmly. From this fellow's eyes, there was only one special emotion. To stand to the end. Come. Dustless beckoned with his finger. There was a faint arc on his face. Clang clang clang. Yu Shensi didn't waste any time. She immediately drew her tachi from its scabbard and looked at Dustless coldly. Then, she turned into a hurricane and dashed over in a flash. Die. In the blink of an eye, Yu Shensi arrived in front of Dustless. Her long blade slashed down horizontally, wanting to chop off Dustless's head. Child's play. Wu Chen was as calm as still water. He gently raised his right arm and directly grabbed the dangerous tachi that was coming at him. Boom boom boom. A crisp sound echoed across the sky. The tachi's invincible edge was blocked. Dustless casually caught Yu Shensi's large blade with both hands. His face was expressionless, without the slightest pressure. Is this the difference between you and me? Yu Shensi stared at Dustless. Or rather, those 2 fingers were gently holding her weapon. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't pull it out. I'll let you die a luxurious death. Dustless chose to ignore those beast-like eyes. The chakra in his body surged, and a black sphere formed in an instant. He flicked it out. Truth-seeking jade. Boom boom boom. The seemingly harmless body suddenly showed its ferocious side the moment it hit Yu Shensi. Although there were no wounds on his body, the layers of skin were strangely peeling off. Yu Shensi was like a broken porcelain person. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared into thin air. Not even her corpse was left behind. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 gifts plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2351. Time flew by and 3 days passed unknowingly. During this period, Dustless arranged everything and completed all the trivial matters that needed to be settled before leaving. As for the resurrected Silver King, his memory was completely sealed by Dustless. In the future, his identity would be the Azana society and he would live an ordinary life. When they heard that Dustless was leaving, Cat and Sin Dustless had different attitudes. Fortunately, Dustless did not force them and allowed them to choose. Cat was naturally willing to leave with Dustless. She had nothing to miss anyway. As for Tsunana, I figured it out. The Venerable One has passed away, and Mio and Izumo have left Japan. Tsunana's eyes could not help but darken when she said this. The Great Vega Balla was disbanded just like that. I'll go with you to relax. Tsunana looked at Dustless firmly. I told you before, right? It's not relaxing. Once you leave, you can't come back. Dustless was rarely serious. Don't think I'm joking. I'm serious, girl. But I don't have any relatives. Tsunana lowered her head. Her despondent look was really pitiful. Well, remember, this is your own choice. I didn't force you. It's useless to regret it in the future. Dustless looked at Tsunana for a moment and did not ask any more. After all, he did not force her. When everything was ready, Dustless took Tsunana and Cat into the system world. Since then, the era of the king's rule had completely ended, and mankind had begun to enter a new era of development. The traces of Dustless and the others' existence were all erased by Japan, becoming the biggest mystery in history. In the system world, in the blue sky, white clouds floated lazily. It was very happy. The world with beautiful scenery was always so stable compared to the outside world. It was always carefree, without any pain or loss. This was a new world. There was no distinction between friend and foe. Even a vicious criminal would become a good person if he continued to live such a comfortable life. Looks like it's settled. Wu Chen stared at Sin Ming Anna and the cat who were playing on the lawn in the distance. They were unusually harmonious and got along well with other confidants. Seeing this scene, Wu Chen couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He threw aside the grass in his mouth and got into the black hole next to him with peace of mind. This was the spatial tunnel that had been prepared beforehand. Gulp. After the black hole swallowed Dustless, it disappeared. It was as if it had never appeared. Soon, peace was restored. This was a special world. Due to a sudden accident, most of the humans had gone extinct, and the city had been reduced to ruins. The humans who were lucky enough to survive also fell into a nightmare. They were kept in captivity by a group of powerful races, and became delicious food. In short, this was a world ruled by vampires, and human civilization had been destroyed. Plop! A pitch-black figure fell from the sky, smashing through the thick walls and invading an unknown room. Unfortunately, it fell into a pool. F***CK. Is he possessed by the god of misfortune? Why am I so unlucky every time? Dustless stood up in a daze and cursed. He had a splitting headache. It seemed that every time he transmigrated, he would encounter this kind of problem. It was really miserable. What the hell is this place? It looks very luxurious. Dustless looked at the surrounding buildings in a daze. This was obviously an indoor giant pool. There were many gems inlaid around it. It was brightly lit. At first glance, it was obvious that it was for nobles. Good, very good human. How dare you invade when I'm bathing? Suddenly, a cold female voice came from behind. It was quite pleasant to the ears, and was very majestic. Without looking back, he knew that the person behind it was either rich or noble. Who are you? The moment he turned his head, Dustless couldn't help but be stunned. What entered his eyes was a pink-haired lowly girl. She had gem-like blood-red eyes, and her facial features were also white without any impurities. She had a kind of paleness that belonged only to vampires. Her aura was also abnormally powerful. She was like a high and mighty queen. This chick, I seem to have some impression. Dustless frowned and thought hard. Suddenly, a strange girl appeared in his mind. He smiled and asked with interest, "You're called Sapesai? You know me?" This time, a wisp of surprise flashed past the young girl's cold appearance. After that, she looked at Wu Chen, who had a curious expression, and snorted coldly. "A country bumpkin like you, a country bumpkin, has also heard of me. Should I feel happy? After all, even a nameless junior like you knows about my reputation. This means that I'm still very famous. No, to be able to make me remember you. This is the blessing of 8 lifetimes, little brat." Dustless said calmly, but he didn't expect this sentence to make Sapesai choke with anger. "My blessing, there's a little brat?" Sapesai's head was dizzy and she couldn't help but feel a little dazed. As the queen of vampires, her identity and status were unparalleled. Although she looked very young and immature, that was only on the surface. Her real age was probably in the triple digits or even older. No one dared to call her a little brat. Now that a mere human called her a little brat, it was like giving Sapesai a slap in the face. "Human, I'll make you regret living in this world." Without saying a word, Sapesai's small body flashed over. Her speed was as fast as lightning, and ordinary humans couldn't see her at all. Too slow. Dustless shook his head slightly. This speed was simply as slow as a turtle crawling to her. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2352. Too slow. Dustless's voice wasn't very loud, but it wasn't very soft either. Unfortunately, Sapesai happened to hear it. Her delicate little face suddenly flashed with a cold light. "Where did you get the courage to say that?" Krula's petite body suddenly exploded with an overwhelming power. Her speed increased several times in an instant, and she almost arrived in front of Dustless in the blink of an eye. Dustless's eyes were still staring ahead, as if he hadn't reacted yet. "Mere human, you can't even withstand a single blow." Krula smiled disdainfully and punched Dustless's abdomen without hesitation. Bang! Following the loud sound, Krulu felt the hardness of her hand, and her arrogant face finally couldn't hold it any longer. "Are you tickling me?" Dustless looked at Krulu indifferently and grabbed Krula's arm roughly. "If you want to hit someone, you should use your full strength like this." As soon as his voice fell, Dustless suddenly threw Krulu away. Boom boom boom. Dustless's attack was too strong. Krulu, who was thrown away, couldn't stop her body at all. She smashed heavily against the wall and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was as pale as paper, and her eyes were wide open. She looked at Dustless in horror. "Stand up. I know you're the queen of vampires, an out-and-out aristocrat. That was just a small problem for you." Dustless leisurely walked to Krulu's throne and sat down calmly. He supported his chin with his hand and quietly looked at the stunned girl. "Who the hell are you?" Just as Dustless said, Krulu stood up again. She was completely fine, and her tone was still full of majesty. "Pay attention to your attitude when you speak." Dustless coldly glanced at Krulu and said with contempt, "If you want to become a pile of rotten meat, I can fulfill your wish." "You." Krula's face turned pale. As the queen of vampires, who dared to talk to her like that? Even upper-class vampires, who were also aristocrats, were very respectful when they saw her. Now that she was being looked down upon by a human, Krulu was so angry that her delicate body trembled. "Emperor Ghost Army? I don't think so. I've never heard of such a person. Who are they?" Krula's expression kept changing. She bit her thin lips so hard that she didn't realize that blood was flowing out. "This world is really unpleasant. It's so foul." Wu Chen took a deep breath and felt that his chest was inexplicably suffocated. Full of openings. Her eyes as eyes and her eyes. Her body flashed again, flashed, and fiercely pounced on Dustless fiercely, and her strength. Her strength increased strength, SSS. She's stronger stronger stronger. S, T, T, E, to V, T to his C. T, 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 TSK tisk. A sinister smile came from behind. Dustless turned his head slightly, and casually glanced at Krulu. No wonder the humans were defeated by you. Although they're a little stupid, but you vampires are really an outstanding race. You're too strong for humans, especially nobles like you. The person hugging Dustless's head was Krulu. At this time, she revealed 2 sharp teeth, and her dark red eyes were cold. You're still so calm when you're about to die. Human as a mere livestock, you've really impressed me. Krulu hugged Dustless's head and impatiently licked his white neck. You're such a strong human. Your blood must be good. As soon as she finished speaking, Krulu bit Dustless's neck. Human blood was a great delicacy for vampires. But the moment she bit down, Krulu was stunned. Caw caw caw. Her sharp teeth, which could bite through steel, shattered like porcelain when she bit Dustless's neck. What's going on? Krulu looked at Dustless as if she saw a ghost. She saw the man's calm eyes and felt an inexplicable panic. She quickly let go of Dustless's head, and immediately stepped back. Why? Don't you want to taste my blood? Looking at Krulu's broken teeth, Dustless smiled and said, maybe it's a great tonic for vampires like you. Who exactly are you? Krulu's expression was extremely depressed. Looking at Dustless's teasing smile, she finally understood that this guy was just teasing her from the beginning. It was more like he was killing time. My name is Dustless. Dustless simply introduced himself, and then the sudden sentence almost made Krulu faint. From now on, I'm your master. Come call me master, my pet. My master. Krulu glared at him and gritted her teeth. A mere human wanted to be her master. How arrogant was he? If other nobles knew about this, where would she put her face? You don't deserve it. Kalulu coldly refused. The way he looked at Wu Chun was as if he was looking at an enemy who had killed his father. That's simple. Dustless suddenly stood up from the throne, and his cold voice resounded throughout the palace. Then I don't mind being a good person for once. Slaughtering the vampires will purify the world. What do you think, little brat? After saying that, Dustless's mouth showed a trace of an evil smile. It looked harmless, but in Kalula's eyes, his body couldn't help but feel cold. He couldn't help but have an absurd thought in his mind. If you want to do it, it can really be done. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Oh. Chapter 2353. Krulu took a deep breath and suppressed the waves in his heart. He looked at Dustless with sparkling eyes, trying to see through this guy. Who the hell are you? Looking at Dustless with uncertainty, Krulu couldn't see through this person's origin. He didn't even know if he was a human or a vampire. If he was a human, how could there be such a strong human? At least Krulu hadn't seen one before. My name is Dustless. Dustless said calmly and then added, of course, I'm also your owner. You're my livestock from now on. You. Hearing this, Krulu's heart was in turmoil and he almost spat out blood. He looked at Dustless unkindly and asked coldly, do you know who I am? I'm not interested. Dustless was unmoved. I'm the queen of the vampires, the third ancestor. Krulu raised his voice and his pretty face regained its color. He looked quite proud. Is that so? Dustless showed a surprised expression, then looked at Krulu with satisfaction and said with a smile, that's good. My livestock status is so high, you won't embarrass me. You bastard, go to hell. Hearing this, Krulu was completely driven mad. He randomly picked up something and threw it over. Why is this kid asking for a beating? Embarrass you? Who do you think you are? Was he a god? Angel? Kalulu only felt that his head was about to explode. It was all because of Dustless. You're an ungrateful creature. Dustless slightly squinted his eyes. The place where his eyes looked seemed to be burning with flames. It was extremely terrifying. The moment Dustless squinted his eyes, Krulu's chest suddenly felt inexplicably heavy. He looked up and felt like he was being stared at by a prehistoric monster that could tear him apart at any time. Do you want to obtain this world? Dustless suddenly asked. I mean, to become the master of this world, the only master in the world. Do you think I'm a child? How could such a thing be possible? Kalulu laughed disdainfully, as if he were a child. Impossible? Before I appeared, it was indeed impossible, but now that I have appeared, this world has a master. Dustless continued to speak calmly, his tone as calm as an ancient well. That's right. From the moment I appeared, this world followed my surname. Shameless. Hearing this, Kululu only snorted in disdain, as if mocking Dustless for overestimating himself. TSKTC. You're still not convinced? Dustless looked at Kululu with interest and a mischievous smile. You'll believe me in the future. Now let's get down to business. Don't try to fool me. Hurry up and call me master. In your dreams. Kululu was so angry that her face was trembling. This guy was too arrogant. She was the queen of the vampires, yet she called Dustless master. How was she going to continue living like this? Is that so? Dustless was not angry. He said casually, then it's very simple. I'll strip you naked, tie you up and throw you to the humans. What do you think will happen? Do you have to be so shameless? Kululu's expression changed drastically. A rare look of fear appeared on her face. She glared at Dustless and scolded. Don't you have the demeanor of a strong person? How dare you lay your hands on a girl? You're still a girl. Hearing this, Dustless was speechless. He rolled his eyes and said, a girl with sharp teeth who wants to drink my blood is too annoying. Let's cut the crap. Are you going to call me master or not? We'll see. Hearing this, Kululu did not say anything else. She turned into a black shadow and ran for her life, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Brat, you still want to run away in front of me? Dustless's big hand suddenly grabbed, as if he had expected Kululu to run for her life. 10,000 heavenly attraction. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Suddenly, a terrifying gravitational force came from behind. Kululu's speed instantly slowed down, and her body kept moving backward. Damn monster. Feeling that the space around her was distorted, Kululu scolded. It was always others who treated her as a monster. This time, it was her turn to call Dustless a monster. Her thoughts were especially complicated. Come here. Chakra increased its output, and the gravitational force became denser. Kululu was immediately pulled over. Still want to run? Dustless asked with a smile. My cute livestock, come and call me master. Otherwise, I will keep my promise. Gotcha. As soon as his voice fell, Dustless shot out an energy wave from his finger. It blasted on Kululu's body, and her clothes were instantly torn into pieces. You pervert! Kululu flew into a rage and cursed. She could not wait to tear Dustless apart. Dustless was not angry. He calmly faced the angry Kululu and said with a smile, since you have rejected, I will not be so sentimental. I will send you to the humans now. I heard that the Emperor Ghost Army of Japan is very interested in vampire nobles, especially human experiments. Enough. Before Dustless could continue his nonsense, Kululu interrupted him loudly. Finally, she turned her head and said in an extremely soft voice, "A master." The moment her voice fell, Kululu's cheeks turned green with anger. As the queen of the vampire race, she actually called someone master and was treated like a livestock. Not only did she lose face, but also the entire vampire race's face. If you had listened to me earlier, it would not have been so troublesome. After hearing his words, Wuchen kept his promise as he loosened his grip on Kululu. With his eyes closed, he muttered, "Later on, you will understand how lucky you are to make such a decision. The simple word master has given you the entire world. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus more chapters, 3,000 rewards plus more chapters, 1,000 comments plus more chapters, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more chapters." Chapter 2354. In exchange for the whole world. Kululu looked at Dustless with a complicated expression. Would this guy die if he kept a low profile? Didn't he know that it would hurt to be slapped in the face after his lie was exposed? Buzz buzz buzz. Suddenly, a large number of ripples appeared in the void, followed by a bottle of red wine and a golden wine glass that fell into Kululu's hands. The Hero King's ability is really useful. Dustless sighed. Looking at Kululu, who was in a daze, he pretended to be stern and scolded. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and pour me a drink." This guy must have worked himself to death in his previous life. He will make it up to me in this life. Klula knew that she wasn't Dustless's opponent, so she could only curse this pervert in her heart. However, even if she was unhappy, she still obeyed Dustless's order and obediently poured a glass of wine for Dustless. Gulp. Dustless gulped it down as if he was drinking cold water. He did this a few times before stopping. Noticing Dustless's sudden change in expression, Klulu, who realized that something was wrong, changed her words awkwardly. Master, why are you looking for me? At least you know what's good for you. Dustless snorted and immediately complained. I don't have any purpose. I just fell from a height of tens of thousands of meters, and my head is still dizzy. Hearing this, Klulu almost fell down. Falling from a height of tens of thousands of meters? Why didn't you smash into meat paste? All in all, I don't plan to stay here with you vampires. To be honest, I still feel uncomfortable. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. Dustless was a proper human. Although he was strong enough to kill gods, he was still a human in nature. Living with a group of vampires was really uncomfortable. At the very least, Dustless didn't have the hobby of sucking blood. This fiend wants to leave? That's great. Kalulu was overjoyed. She was afraid that Dustless would stay here. Otherwise, she might live under the shadow of Dustless for the rest of her life. Take me away. After a moment of silence, Dustless stretched. Take me to the humans. I understand. Kelulu said respectfully for the first time. He was about to send Dustless, the jinx, away, so there was no harm in praising him temporarily. Come with me, master. Dustless followed Krula's footsteps and left as well. Many of the vampires had strange expressions on their faces when they saw the high and mighty queen hanging out with a human. However, due to the issue of identity, no one dared to ask too much. After all, Klulu was the king here, and those who dared to question him would only end up dead. On the other side, the hall was brightly lit, and the air was filled with the smell of blood. The ground was covered in blood, and there were many children's corpses. Their bodies were already cold. Of course, there were still 2 survivors. Vampire, let go of Micah quickly. A child wearing clothes that belonged to livestock was holding an exquisite pistol and pointing it at the silver-haired vampire. The child's face was ferocious as she looked at the noble vampire with hatred. Aya. So scary. The silver-haired noble vampire smiled and looked at the child holding the gun with contempt. He said to the child at his feet, Little Micah, is this the family you mentioned? Little you, run quickly. The golden-haired child called Micah urged. Her face was filled with worry. This guy is a noble vampire. You are no match for him. Little youth. Without waiting for Micah to continue speaking, the silver-haired noble vampire, Freed Bartley, pierced his right hand into Micah's abdomen. Blood flowed out instantly. What have you done, you bastard? I'm going to kill you. Yuichiro Hayakuya was enraged by this scene. Without hesitation, he pulled the trigger at Freed's head. Bang! Freed's head was immediately penetrated by the bullet, leaving a fist-sized hole. Micah, I'll bring you away now. Hang in there for a while. Yuichiro Hayakuya quickly ran over and wanted to help Michael up. However, he was just a child at this moment. His strength was too weak. He could only drag Michael away slowly. A glaring blood trail was left on the floor. I'm going to die. Little you can leave by yourself. Michael smiled. However, Yuichiro Hayakuya shook his head stubbornly. Little you, do you want everyone's efforts to go to waste? Run quickly. He pushed Yuichiro Hayakuya forcefully. Michael closed his eyes like a lamp that was about to run out of oil. Damned vampires, there will be a day when I'll exterminate all of you. Finally, Yuichiro Hayakuya roared and left. His tears fell like rain. He swore in his heart that he would kill all vampires in the future. Little you, staring at the back of Yuichiro Hayakuya, Michael opened his eyes again. I seem to have come at the right time. An indifferent voice suddenly sounded. 2 figures suddenly walked out from the darkness. They were Dustless and Krolutsupizi. You bastard, how dare you? My blazing angel. Staring at Hayakuya Michael, whose life was hanging by a thread, and Hayakuya Yuichiro, who had disappeared without a trace, Krolu was enraged. Her beautiful eyes were full of devastation. Fried, don't play dead. Give me an explanation. Otherwise, I don't mind letting you die for real. Aw, Krulu, you're really cold. Just now, my head was smashed by that brat. Can't you be gentler to me? Fried suddenly stood up. There was still a hole in his head. At the same time, he also noticed Dustless. He was stunned for a moment. After all, he was a human. Wouldn't it be strange for him to be with the vampire queen? However, Dustless acted as if he didn't notice Fried. He pointed at the direction where Yuichiro Hayakuya escaped and asked, "Is the way out of this godforsaken place the brat ran to?" "That's right." Krulu nodded. She was still looking at Fried coldly. "I'm not interested in your business." Leaving behind a simple sentence, Dustless brushed past Fried. The latter was immediately dumbfounded. Was there a mistake? This human had actually ignored him. Chapter 2355. It was no wonder that Fried lost his composure. In a place where vampire nobles gathered, a human like Dustless swaggered in, and even ignored him, a vampire noble. Even Krulusapizi did not dare to be disrespectful to Dustless. How could Fried not be curious? Halt, human. Unable to suppress his curiosity, Fried suddenly blocked Dustless's path. "Livestock, do you know where this is, scram reptile?" Without waiting for Fried to continue his nonsense, Dustless impatiently interrupted him. "Living in the same space as you blood-sucking perverts. I feel uncomfortable all over." "Reptile." Hearing this, Fried's mouth twitched. With a fake smile, he looked at Dustless. "My ears are not good. Can you repeat what you just said? Now there's a good show to watch." Seeing this, Krulu revealed a gloating expression. "Krulu, this guy is your dog, right?" Dustless suddenly looked at Krulu. Pointing at Flender, who had an ugly expression, he said indifferently, "Tell him to scram." "What did you say?" Hearing this, Fried's face turned black. A mere human dared to speak to him like this. He was simply courting death. "Scram." Krulu glared at Fried. Her beautiful eyes were filled with hostility. "Are you crazy? Krulu, he's a human." Fried was stunned when he heard this. A rare look of shock appeared on his handsome face. When did the vampire queen become so obedient? And a human at that. Furious, he said, "You're telling me to scram for a human?" Was he not even comparable to a human? Thinking of this, Fried became even more furious. "Let me see what's so special about you." With a cold gaze, Fried decisively ignored Krulu's order. In any case, the two of them were not on good terms. With regards to Krulu's orders, Fried had always obeyed on the surface but disobeyed on the inside. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Fried suddenly attacked from the side. His speed was so fast that it was dazzling. "Repent, you mere livestock." In the blink of an eye, Fried appeared in front of Dustless, his fist smashing towards Dustless's head. Against a human, he disdained to use his sword. Seeing this, Wuchen just raised his palm casually. Bang! Fried's punch was powerful enough to shatter a wall. After all, he was an upper-level primogenitor among vampires. His strength was extraordinary. However, Dustless was completely unaffected by Fried's punch. The effect was akin to a child punching an adult's palm. How could this be? Fried couldn't help but be shocked. Looking at Dustless, whose eyes were unreadable, a rare expression of shock appeared on his face. Although he hadn't used his full strength, he had still used around 70% to 80% of his strength. According to his calculations, Dustless should have been beaten to the ground, unable to stand up. Is this all there is to the vampire nobility? Compared to Krulu, you seem to be far behind. Dustless abruptly clenched his fist, tightly grabbing Fried's fist. He let out a sinister laugh and increased his strength slightly. Caw caw caw. Fried's fist was instantly crushed by Dustless as if he was crushing a fruit or vegetable. Bastard! Fried cursed loudly, his remaining hand immediately reaching for the long sword at his waist. "My sword! Drink from me, bang!" Before Fried could even finish his words, Krulu had already launched a sneak attack. Krulu's small and delicate body leapt up and kicked Fried's right cheek, sending him flying. What is the meaning of this? Dustless casually glanced at Krulu beside him and asked indifferently, "Don't tell me that you're being too kind." "That's not it. I hate this guy more than anything." Krulu shook his head and explained. "But at the end of the day, Flender is a vampire nobility and an upper-level ancestor. If he were to die here for no reason, I would have to come up with a reasonable explanation. Since you let me off this time, you shouldn't bother with a clown like Fried, right?" "He is indeed a clown." Dustless nodded slightly. "But even if he is a clown, it is annoying to provoke me all the time. But I'll let it go this time. I can also turn a blind eye to it. If there is a next time, I guarantee that he will be chopped into pieces. I'll give you some face this time." "I understand." Krulu heaved a sigh of relief. If Fried were to die just like that, she would have a hard time explaining herself. Dustless didn't say anything. He looked at Krulu quietly for a few seconds, then turned around and left without hesitation. Before he left, he glanced at the bleeding 100 Knights Michael. "Krulu, remember this. You belong to me. I won't allow you to bleed for others." When these words fell into Krulu's ears, there was a subtle change in her expression. She couldn't help but raise her head and look at Wu Chen in surprise. She really intended to let 100 Knights Michael drink her blood to revive. But now that Dustless said so, she had no choice but to give up. Thud, 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 thud. Then Dustless put his hands in his pockets and walked away lazily. His shoes made a crisp sound as he stepped on the floor. During this time, the vampires who didn't kill vampires also discovered that Dustless was a human. But no one dared to stop him. "Damn it, Krulu. Are you crazy?" Fried glared at Krulu. The veins on his forehead bulged as he roared. "You joined hands with a human to deal with me? Are you trying to be a traitor? My queen." "Fried, you seem to have made a mistake." Looking at Dustless's back as he left, Krulu returned to being the high and mighty vampire queen. She sneered at him and mocked. "If it weren't for me, you would have been chopped into pieces. As a thank you gift for saving your life, I don't want the other ancestors to know about what happened today. Do you understand? You saved my life." Fried almost fainted from anger. "I was humiliated by these two people one after another, and now I saved his life." P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 evaluation votes plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2356. On the other side, Dustless followed Yuichiro's footsteps out of the vampire city. Whoosh, whoosh. In the outside world, the cold wind was bleak, and snow was falling from the sky. The world in front of him was covered in snow, and the air was bone-piercing and freezing. As far as the eye could see, the surroundings were deathly silent and desolate. But it was normal. This world was ruled by vampires, and humans were either killed or reared by the vampires. Of course, there were some special existences, such as the King Ghost Army. This kid's stamina is pretty good. Wearing such thin clothes and barefoot, he can run so far in the snow. His perseverance is really embarrassing. After walking for a long time, Dustless finally saw Yuichiro lying in the snow. He fainted in the snow, but his eyes were blurred, and he stared blankly at Dustless. "Hatred brought you here, didn't it?" Dustless lowered his head and looked at the young man. He could see the anger in his deep eyes. He was sure that once Yuichiro Hayakuya became stronger in the future, he would never let the vampires go easily. He would definitely fulfill his promise and kill the vampires until there was no one left. "Oh, Red Lotus, come and see. What a surprise, there is a living person here. It looks like a kid, and there is an adult beside him. I'm sure he is not a vampire." The dead silence was broken by a sudden exclamation. Then Dustless saw a few young men in the King Ghost Army's uniform appear. They seemed to have a tacit understanding. Even when they were walking, they were in a special formation, guarding against any possible danger. "Red Lotus Ikanes?" Dustless looked up at the short-haired young man in the front, and a meaningful smile appeared on his face. Was it a coincidence that this guy was here? Definitely not. "Save me." Seeing the appearance of living people, Yuichiro Hayakuya suddenly got the strength to stand up and shout at the Emperor Ghost Army that was rushing over. Quickly put some clothes on this brat. His body is stiff, but he can still jump up. His vitality is really strong. It's a miracle that he can survive until now in such a cold environment. But it's also thanks to us that we came at the right time. Ike's Red Lotus's teammates looked at Yuichiro Hayakuya in surprise. They even ignored Dustless. Just in time. Hearing this, Dustless smiled but didn't say anything. If this was all a coincidence, then what about everything that happened before? Hayakuya Michael stole the escape blueprint from Freed. Later, when Freed found out, he killed the group of children. Hayakuya Michael and Hayakuya Yuichiro's teammates were all mercilessly killed. It was worth mentioning that Freed had purposely let Yuichiro Hayakuya escape in the end. In fact, he was not killed by the pistol. He was merely creating an opportunity for Yuichiro Hayakuya to escape. From the beginning to the end, it had been a huge conspiracy. But at that moment, Akemi Ikane suddenly appeared. Could this be a coincidence? How sad. Humans and vampires are mortal enemies, and one of them is destined to die. Yet some people are still flirting with the vampires, secretly collaborating with them. Human nature is really ugly. Dustless sighed with emotion. Traitors were the most annoying and disgusting. However, he was too lazy to talk nonsense. Did all this have anything to do with Dustless? Whoever died had nothing to do with him. Humans and vampires were not good things. In the end, it was all the fault of humans. Without those horrible human experiments, human civilization would not have been destroyed. Who are you? While Dustless was silent, Akemi Ikane suddenly walked over. Although she hid it very well, Dustless could see the shock in her eyes. She seemed to be very surprised, as if this was not part of her plan. Me. Dustless pursed his lips and smiled. He pointed at Yuichiro and said, I escaped from that place with him. It was really scary. Hearing this, the frowns on Ike Sakura and her teammates' faces deepened. Although Dustless had verbally threatened to scare them, he did not show any signs of fear on his face. Instead, he gave off the impression that he was taking a leisurely stroll in the afternoon. Moreover, it was worth mentioning that the third ancestor, Klulu, and the seventh ancestor, Flender, were all children. Although Dustless was not old, he was obviously older than the children. Could he be a spy for the vampires? Akemi Ikane and her teammates exchanged glances. They looked at Dustless warily. How funny. You are the one who is flirting with vampires. Now you are looking at me with such vigilant eyes. Dustless's eyes were filled with disdain. As a transmigrator, Chun Xiaolian understood that there was an inextricable relationship between Ikane Akiran and Krulu. Even Akiran's deceased girlfriend, the one who developed the ghost curse equipment, had a cooperative relationship with Krulu. Thus, Dustless was particularly disgusted by the way Akemi Ikane looked at him, suspecting that he was a spy. Was this not a case of a thief pretending to be a thief? Too shameless. Hurry up and catch up to them. Don't let those two escape. Otherwise, we are done for. Damn it. How did those two livestock researchers get out of there? Why didn't we notice them? Enough with the nonsense. Hurry up and catch them. They are just humans. Once we catch them, we will kill them all. Suddenly, the vampires' curses could be heard from behind them. 5 to 6 figures could be clearly seen charging toward them. Clearly, they were chasing after Dustless and Yuichiro. I will kill you all to prove my innocence. Dustless suddenly turned around. The corners of his mouth curled up into a cold arc. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2357. Attention everyone. Stay in formation. Noticing the appearance of the vampires, Akemi and the others were on high alert. They unsheathed their ghost curse equipment, giving off a deadly aura. Brat, what are you waiting for? Come over here if you don't want to die. Noticing that Yuichiro was still in a daze, Akemi hurriedly scolded him. She scolded him in her heart. This kid is so stupid. If you weren't valuable, no one would save you. On the other hand, Dustless was ignored and became the target of public criticism. You're just a mere livestock. How dare you run away? You deserve to die. The incoming vampires also saw Ike's Hanren, Dustless, and the others. The livestock uniform on Yuichiro Hayakuya's body was particularly eye-catching. The group of vampires was immediately able to recognize him. However, sensing the presence of the King Ghost Army, the group of vampires did not dare to act rashly. They stared at each other like tigers watching their prey. Let's get rid of this kid first. When the vampires realized that the King Ghost Army had no intention of protecting Dustless, they glared at him fiercely. Especially when they saw that Dustless had nothing on him. He also did not have any ghost curse equipment. His skin was fair, his facial features were delicate, and his body was spotless. At first glance, they could tell that he was a pretty boy who could not even truss up a chicken. No doubt he was the most delicious lamb. This is great. So, they thought I was a pushover. Dustless helplessly scratched his head and sighed. However, in the eyes of the vampires, this was a look of fear and despair. Akemi, do you want to help? Akemi's teammates asked. Most of the humans in this world had gone extinct. Saving as many as possible was a good thing. No. Akemi's eyes were cold and emotionless. This might be the vampire's scheme. It's not like we haven't encountered such things before. Have you forgotten? When we are saving people, our formation will be disrupted, and this will give the vampires an opportunity to attack. Hearing this, everyone fell silent and chose to watch silently. As for Yuichiro, perhaps due to exhaustion, he had already fainted. Attack! A leader of the vampires ordered loudly, and the vampires who surrounded Dustless immediately besieged him from all sides. You overestimate yourself. Seeing this, Dustless sneered and pushed with both hands. Boundless gravity erupted. Shinra Tensei. Bang bang bang. The incoming vampires were hit one after another. Cracking sounds could be heard as they were attacked by the ferocious repulsive force. Everyone's bones were crushed, and their bodies flew backward like kites with broken strings. This sudden turn of events caused Ike's Hongren and her teammates to widen their eyes in disbelief. Am I seeing things? Red Lotus, this guy killed 6 or 7 vampires in seconds. Everyone stared at Dustless in shock. It was a fact that humans were inferior to vampires. In a one-on-one battle, humans could barely win. However, against 6 or 7 vampires, Dustless was still able to kill them in an instant. Either the vampires were intentionally going easy on him, or Dustless was simply too powerful. What's there to be proud of? Didn't you see those vampires stand up again? Although Red Lotus was surprised, he soon noticed that the vampires that were sent flying by Dustless stood up again. He shook his head and said, "What a pity. He is also a talent. Without the ghost curse equipment, he is doomed to die." From the beginning to the end, Red Lotus had no intention of helping Dustless. In his heart, Yuichiro Hayakuya was the most important person. It was not worth risking his life for Dustless. Damned brat, I'm going to tear you to shreds. The vampires that were sent flying seemed to be completely enraged. They looked at Dustless with ferocious expressions, revealing their sharp fangs. Their scarlet eyes were filled with bloodlust. How could they not be angry after being slapped in the face by the fat sheep in their mouths? You will die today. Another vampires roared. Although they were injured, their injuries were not fatal. Only the ghost curse equipment could threaten their lives. Obviously, Dustless did not have any. Therefore, no matter what, he was bound to lose. No wonder humans lost to you. Dustless smiled and suddenly formed a hand seal. Would release. Boom boom boom. The ground trembled as if there was an earthquake. A large number of cracks appeared. The surface of the ground suddenly protruded upward. Then, under the shocked gaze of dozens of pairs of eyes, a large number of thick logs drilled out from the ground. What the hell is this? Many people were shocked by this scene. What kind of ability was this? Was there such a ghost curse equipment? At least, they had never heard of such a thing. Not to mention the vampires, even Heine's Hongren was at a loss. In her memory, there was no such ghost curse equipment. Go to hell. Dustless's expression was indifferent. He formed another hand seal. The logs turned into spears and pierced towards the vampires. Pucci, Pucci, Pucci. The vampires could not escape this fate. Their abdomens were all pierced. Blood kept spurting out. Even their intestines were exposed. Ha ha ha, you still can't kill us. Even though their bodies were pierced, the vampires were still full of arrogance. In this world, only ghost curse equipment can. What is going on? Soon, their arrogance turned into endless fear. The vampires looked at the wood release in their abdomens in fear. They were shocked to find that the wood release was like a monster with a big mouth. It sucked their blood dry. In just a few seconds, their bodies shriveled up. They were all skin and bones. The wood release had completely devoured their insides. Farewell, Amaterasu. The evil black flames descended and vaporized the vampires. Not even a trace of them was left. Heine's Hongren's expression changed. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2358. What kind of ability is this? So powerful? Even Akase herself was tongue-tied, let alone her teammates. She stared at Dustless's back in disbelief. This level of strength was simply invincible. To be able to kill 6 or 7 vampires in a short span of a few seconds was an overwhelming victory. At the very least, Akase believed that she was incapable of such a feat. However, it was precisely because he had killed several vampires that he was cleared of any suspicion of being a spy. Cough cough cough. Akase looked around cautiously. After discovering that there were no more vampires hiding, she revealed a rare smile and took the initiative to greet Shifeng. May I know your name? Just call me Dustless. Dustless replied lazily. However, in his heart, he hated this fellow even more. Earlier, before he displayed his strength, Akase had ignored him. Now that she had witnessed Dustless's strength, she was suddenly snubbed. Wasn't the speed at which she changed her attitude a little too quickly? That move you used just now was? It doesn't seem to be a cursed equipment, right? Akase asked tentatively. Her eyes glowed as she looked at Dustless, as though she had seen a huge treasure. Researching some strange abilities, especially weapons and equipment that could destroy vampires, had always been his hobby. That's ninjutsu. Dustless did not try to hide it. He then said calmly, however, in this world only I can use that ability. If you want to equip yourself with it, you should give up. Is that so? After hearing Dustless's words, Akase's eyes dimmed significantly. Of course, it was only for a brief moment. She was not the type to give up so easily. Take me to your territory. Dustless did not want to lower himself to Akase's level. If this fellow intended to use him as a lab rat, he would not mind giving her a taste of despair. After a few hours of travel, Dustless also arrived at the human city. It was slightly different from what he had imagined. He had thought that the world had been conquered by vampires, but in fact, it was not the case. Humans still controlled some territories, although the area was pitifully small, like livestock in captivity. However, after saying goodbye to the vampire and seeing a lively human being, Dustless felt particularly close. You have to come with us. Before Dustless could go out for a walk, a group of Japanese ghost army soldiers surrounded Dustless. Every one of them looked unfriendly. I don't think they're from Ise's Red Lotus, Dustless said with a frown. Ikane Sakitomo was a scheming person. She might have some thoughts about him, but she would not fall out with him so quickly. I heard that you used a very special method to deal with the vampires. Tell me, what kind of ability is that? A condescending tone suddenly sounded. It was as if a superior was speaking to a subordinate. It was very arrogant, even condescending. It gave off the feeling that Dustless was already a fish on the chopping board. So it's him. Wu Chen followed the source of the voice and saw a tall and sturdy man with an arrogant face walking over slowly. Coincidentally, Dustless also recognized this person. Moreover, his identity was very noble. Even Ikane Sakitomo was inferior to him, let alone Dustless, who had no background. So it's a Twilight person. Dustless was relieved. This person and Ikanase Akitomo were jackals of the same lair. When it came to human experiments, they were very tactful. They were also crazier and more despicable than Ikanase Akitomo. Compared to a Twilight person, Ikanase Akitomo could be considered an angel. You're the one looking for me? This person definitely did not have good intentions. Dustless was not going to be polite. He said coldly, "You said I'll tell you, so I'll tell you. Then tell me, what are you?" Impudent. Hearing Dustless's arrogance, the few King Ghost Army soldiers surrounding him were enraged. They looked at Dustless angrily as if they wanted to swallow Dustless alive. Yo. Seeing this, Dustless only grinned and said contemptuously, "Master hasn't said anything yet and you dogs have already spoken. Flattering so fast? Don't be too arrogant." The Twilight person's eyes were cold as he looked at Dustless. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have some strength. In the King Ghost Army, there are many like you. The Twilight person was extremely arrogant as he looked down at Dustless. Many like me? Dustless was amused by this sentence and immediately mocked even more. Since there are many like me, why are you looking for me? You're so big, but your thinking is like that of a primary school student. You. Hearing this, the Twilight person's mouth twitched. He almost took out his tachi and cut Dustless alive. This kid's words were too infuriating. I can't deny that your ability is very unique. To be honest, I've taken a liking to you. The Twilight person looked at Dustless and said sternly, "This is your blessing to be my subordinate. Since you've taken a liking to me, you'd better watch your attitude, little brat." Dustless's words made the Twilight person speechless. He said contemptuously, "Idiot. Don't you know that I came back with Honglien? That guy is the same as you, ambitious, but he didn't do anything to me. Do you know why? Because he's not strong enough. He's not even close to me." The Twilight person said shamelessly with a serious expression, No. You may be strong, but you're still far from it." Dustless shook his finger and said indifferently, "That's because he didn't have the confidence to take me down. So he purposely leaked the news and let you, a stupid pig, test my strength. Do you understand, idiot?" P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2359. Kid, you better look carefully. Do you know who is in front of you? He is from the Sea family, the leader of the Emperor Ghost Army. Yes, don't be ungrateful. Master Simurun wants you to be his subordinate. That is your fortune. Don't be ungrateful. Look at your own status. That's right. Noticing that Jimu's old face had turned green, his underlings immediately began to threaten Wu Chun. Some of them even pulled out their swords, their gazes sinister. You bunch of idiots. How sad. Dustless let out a long sigh. He could not help but pity the humans. If everyone was willing to let go of their grudges and work together to deal with the vampires, perhaps the human cities would have been recovered long ago. It was a pity that most people put their wisdom into fighting for power and profit. You brat. Simurun took a deep breath and suppressed his urge to kill. He asked coldly, I will ask you one last time. Are you coming with me? In fact, it was just as Dustless had guessed. Simurun had indeed heard the news from Ike Sakato. He heard that they had found a mysterious person with a powerful ability. That was why he had rushed over. Who would have thought that Dustless would slap him in the face so fiercely that he grimaced in pain? I will repeat myself. Don't be ungrateful. Get out of here before I get angry. Dustless impatiently scolded. If it was in the past, he would have already killed him. Attack. Simurun could not take it anymore. He waved his hand and his followers began to attack Dustless. You overestimate yourself. Seeing this, Dustless did not hold back. A light appeared in his hand and the dazzling Kusanagi sword appeared in the blink of an eye. The light was so dazzling that no one dared to look at it directly. You're really strange. You're mine. Seeing this, Simurun was not afraid. Instead, he was even more interested in Dustless. His eyes were like torches, and deep in his eyes, There was a strong sense of joy. You still haven't figured out the situation. Dustless couldn't help but shake his head. Wasn't this kid too confident? Did he really think that the Sea Clan could cover the sky with one hand? Capture him, just injure him. Don't kill him. Dark Twilight waved his hand, and the group of lackeys charged at Dustless. Too slow. Dustless then waved his hand and a golden beam of light slashed out. Poochie, Poochie, Poochie. The attacking Emperor Ghost Army soldiers were hit one after another, and a ghastly wound appeared on their abdomens, only one step away from their hearts. You dare to hurt him? Meow Moo was stunned for a moment before he roared. He was so angry that his nose was almost crooked. He was looking for trouble with Dustless, but in the end his own people were injured. How could he endure this? You should thank me for not killing them, Dustless said calmly, and then he hooked his finger at Dark Twilight. Kid, you're going to have to do it yourself. I heard that you're the eldest son of the Sea Clan, the leader of the Emperor Ghost Army. You seem to be a lieutenant general. Come on, let me see what you're capable of. Wu Chen's face was full of disdain. He looked at Dark Twilight Man as if he was a clown, completely infuriating Dark Twilight Man. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Dark Twilight couldn't bear it anymore. His face was filled with hostility. Clang! The tachi at his waist was unsheathed, releasing terrifying golden lightning. Pa, pa, pa. The sound was so loud that it hurt people's ears. Repent for me. The tachi suddenly slashed down. At the tip of the tachi, a huge golden lightning suddenly appeared, fiercely rushing towards Dustless. The ground was scorched black, and a straight crack appeared. The power was extremely strong. As expected of a lieutenant general of the Emperor Ghost Army, his explosive strength couldn't be underestimated. It was enough to pose a huge threat to vampires. Of course, it could only pose a threat to vampires. As for Dustless, such weak lightning, I don't even want to dodge it, and I don't even want to elementalize. It's too weak. Dustless closed his eyes, letting the lightning bombard his body. Boom, boom, boom. There was no doubt that the last terrifying lightning fell on Dustless's head. His whole body was swallowed by the dazzling golden lightning, and his limbs were wrapped in lightning. Bathed in lightning, Dustless was like a lightning man. This, how is this possible? After a moment, the Dark Twilight stared at Dustless. His eyes were filled with shock, and his lips were trembling slightly. Dustless, who was struck by lightning, was completely fine. His expression was calm, and his hands were in his pockets leisurely. Is that all? After a while, Wu Chen suddenly spoke up. He looked at Ji Mu's eyes as if his heart had waned and he had lost interest in him. In Dustless's words, the Dark Twilight's self-esteem was strong, but his strength was incomparably weak. Compared to you, I prefer that Ike Sakatsuki. At least he's tactful. Dustless suddenly tightened his thumb and pointed it at the Dark Twilight's chest. The light at the tip condensed, and the ability of the glint fruit was activated. Laser. A straight beam of light shot out at an extremely fast speed. It was like a falling meteor, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Its speed was completely beyond the limit of what the human eye could capture. Poochie. The Dark Twilight's abdomen was suddenly penetrated by the beam of light, and a thumb-sized hole appeared. The view on the other side could be seen. Lord Dark Twilight. Seeing Dustless's ferocity, many of the Emperor Ghost Army were stunned. This was a lieutenant general. How could it be so easy for Dustless to kill a chicken? It was too illogical. Damn, luckily I was smart and didn't provoke him. On the other side, Ike Akatsuki, who was secretly observing, felt a chill run down her spine. If she rashly provoked Dustless, she would probably end up like the Dark Twilights. Fortunately, she deliberately leaked the news and let the Dark Twilight's Dark Twilight be the scapegoat. As expected, he was beaten like a dog. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2360. Serves him right. Dustless is really something. If he had been a little more ruthless, he could have killed Ji Muren. If that had happened, that old man Ji Tianli would have been furious. Akatsuki sneered at the scene. From the beginning to the end, he was gloating. As for sympathy, even if it was for a vampire, he would not have sympathized with the Ji family. Akatsuki's childhood sweetheart was Ji Jinori. The two of them were childhood sweethearts. In the end, because they were separated from the main family, they were heartlessly separated. After Ji Jinori died, Akatsuki hated the Ji family from the bottom of her soul. If Ji Muren died, he did not mind opening a bottle of champagne to celebrate. Plop! With his body pierced, Ji Muren was like a candle in the wind. His strength was instantly drained, and he fell to the ground in extreme pain. That's it. Dustless slowly walked over and stepped on Ji Muren's cheek. He asked coldly, "Little brat, where is your ambition? Where is that arrogant look from before? Kill me if you dare." Ji Muren roared like a raging beast. His eyes were red and emitted a terrifying light. "Kill you? I will not use such a gentle method." Dustless shook his head and continued, "If I kill you, it will be the same as freeing you. I will let you live in the nightmare that I created for you forever. Isn't that better?" "Bastard, bastard, bastard." Jimu roared furiously in his heart, and the veins on his forehead bulged. As a lieutenant general of the Ghost Army of Japan, and the eldest son of the Ji family, now Wuchen was stepping on his face. What kind of great shame was this? Ji Muren felt like he was about to explode. Bad guy, let go of big brother, or father will teach you a lesson. Right at this time, a childish voice passed over. Dustless's line of sight shifted over. A purple-haired little girl immediately came into view. "You look familiar." Dustless stared at the little girl for a moment. Suddenly, he remembered that she called Feng Muren big brother. He then asked with interest, "Kid, are you called Feng Xiaoya?" "Yes." "No, my name is not Chua Xiaoya." The little girl nodded when she heard this, and then she immediately shook her head in denial for fear that Dustless would harm her. Her appearance was rather comical. Although this guy doesn't deserve death, he still needs to be taught a lesson. Dustless said calmly. He didn't have the intention to kill the people of Dusk, but he had to teach them an unforgettable lesson. "Feel it well." Dustless laughed. His laughter was so evil that many people couldn't help but take a few steps back. At this moment, Dustless seemed to be even more terrifying than those noble vampires. Tsukuyami. Boundless psyche invaded Feng Muren's mind, and the world in his eyes changed drastically. He was horrified to discover that he seemed to have entered another space-time. Feng Muren was tied to a cross alone, and in front of him, Dustless was holding a dagger and staring at him, as though he was considering where to start. "Ah, get lost, get lost, get lost." A few minutes later, the twilight inside the Tsukuyami world had a mental breakdown. It opened its mouth like a madman and roared with endless fear. "Kid, go back." In the real world, Dustless glanced at Feng Xiaoya and pointed at the trembling Feng Muren at his feet. He said with a smile, "Although I didn't kill him, it's unknown if he can still live normally after experiencing Tsukuyami. Perhaps his temperament will change drastically. In short, stay away from this brother of yours in the future." With that said, Dustless left without waiting for Feng Xiaoya's reaction. What a strange fellow. Staring at Dustless's back, Feng Xiaoya tilted her head. Her puzzled look was extremely adorable. She couldn't figure out what he was talking about. This fellow is too terrifying. Ike's Red Lotus looked at the collapsed Feng Muren from afar. He was trembling, and his eyes were gray and dull, as though he had experienced the most terrifying thing in his life. What made Ike's Red Lotus at a loss of whether to laugh or cry was that the crotch of Feng Muren's pants was inexplicably wet. There was also a strange smell. He had actually peed his pants from fright. If it were in the past, Ike's Red Lotus would definitely mock Feng Muren, but for some reason, she couldn't laugh now. She understood Feng Muren's personality. His willpower could be said to be iron. Now Dustless had actually been tortured by this fellow to the point of peeing his pants. What kind of terrifying encounter had he experienced? Just thinking about it made Ike's Red Lotus's heart turn cold. Her fear of Dustless also multiplied. Thankfully, the one who provoked Dustless was not me. IK's Red Lotus shrunk her neck. She suddenly felt that she was too lucky. This was practically the blessing of an angel. If she had been a little more reckless back then, the one lying there and peeing his pants might have been her. That show just now, was it exciting? A ghostly voice suddenly rang out. There was no warning and it was unknown where the voice came from. There was no one around and it was deathly silent. Good, of course it was good. IK's Red Lotus said without hesitation. If possible, I wish that the one who got peed on was that old bastard Feng Tianli. Feng Tianli was also the person in charge of the Feng family. At the same time, he was also the marshal of the Imperial Ghost Army. He was also the main culprit who separated IK's Red Lotus from Feng Tianli. Who is it? However, the moment he said those words, IK's Red Lotus regretted it. If the hardcore members of the Feng family were to hear this, he would definitely be finished. He abruptly turned his head and saw a pair of smiling eyes sizing him up. IK's Red Lotus's pupils shrank, and a look of panic flashed across his face. Dustless also noticed it. You instigated Feng Mu-Run to cause trouble for me. This debt must be settled. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.